I thought German was hard enough to learn on its own, but then they have to go and do this? Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. I am Donnie, and along with my wife Aubrey, we are two Americans currently living in Germany with our baby, sharing all of our experiences living and traveling throughout Europe. When we moved to Germany, one could argue that we had absolutely no knowledge of the German language whatsoever. I mean, I knew Danke, Auf Wiedersehen, Guten Tag, some of those basics, but genuinely no knowledge of German. As I learned the language, there were a lot of surprises along the way, and I quickly learned, just as the old saying goes, Deutsche Sprache, schwere Sprache. Like, wait, there are 16 different ways to say the in German, and there are words that exist that look like this? And don't even get me started on the grammar. But in all of that struggle to master the German language and sound like a native speaker, I suddenly learned I actually need to speak English to sound more German. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today in my video. English or Dinglish? I need help to distinguish. Oldtimerfahrten. There is a German word that is going to make every American giggle because they are going to imagine an old man passing gas, unlike a German who is going to imagine this. And this is the first example of something Germans have done, I think, just to confuse us English speakers trying to learn German. They have actually adopted a lot of English words into German, but have actually given them the wrong or totally different meaning than what they actually mean in English, as is the case with old timer, which in English means an old person, but in Germany they say it means a classic car. For another example, Germans could have adopted the term cell phone when talking about, well, a cell phone, but no, they adopted the English word handy, which again, handy is not the English term for a cell phone, but rather in English, handy would mean something that is useful, like, do you have a cell phone? Yeah, I keep it right here on my belt. Wow, that is handy. There is another meaning of handy, but I'm not going to get into that one. So here I am trying to learn German, then think, oh, good. Germans threw me a bone and just used English here. And I think I'll be able to easily understand what they are talking about, considering I am a native English speaker, but then I realized in order to learn German, I have to learn English words, but unlearn what I know those words mean and learn what Germans want those English words to mean. So are you German and use English words, but maybe don't realize they actually don't have the same meaning in English? Then I would highly suggest you check out the sponsor of today's video, Promova, to work on your English skills. Promova is an app to help everyone from beginners to native speakers to learn or master another language. With Promova's courses and features, you get everything you need to achieve your English learning goals. And to be honest, since you're watching this video in which I am speaking English, you may already have some decent English skills, but that is what makes Promova great for you because they offer various courses like a general English course suitable for all levels, a business English course, English with TV series course, or even a travel English course so you can always learn something new. In fact, I think you guys would definitely enjoy the English with a TV series feature because this is the most unique way I have seen to learn things like English idioms you may have heard in American TV but didn't understand, and you will definitely remember it because of the fun context you were learning it in. Beyond that, Promova also offers a community tab where you can practice English with other language learners. Use our link in the description below to start your course with Promova and learn English easy and fast. Now, not every English word that Germans have adopted are, of course, used incorrectly or with a different meaning than what the word actually means in English. In fact, most are correctly used, but it really throws me off when I'm trying to speak German and don't know whether I should use English or German words, as weird as that sentence may sound. Let me explain. When we first moved here, I immediately started learning German, and after a few months, I had a German friend come and visit us. I told him it would be great practice if we just spoke German when he came. Since I hadn't been learning very long at the time, I was able to follow the general gist of what he was saying somewhat, but then at one point he said a word and I stopped him because I had never heard the word before. I asked him to repeat it and he did, but I just couldn't for the life of me figure out what he was saying. I asked him to repeat it multiple times before he started laughing and told me the word he was saying is actually an English word. Then how am I not understanding the word, I thought. So what was the word? Cool. Now, there was a couple of reasons I was confused and didn't recognize the word when he said it. One, I had learned that to say cool in German, you would use a German word like geil, for example, and I didn't realize Germans would just throw in random English words into their German sentences. Two, granted, my friend speaks extremely good English, but he of course has a German accent when he is speaking English, so when he said the word cool, it was said with a German accent, which made my brain not register the word as one that I knew. And this is when I first learned, even with translations for English words existing in German, just how much Germans often use English words when speaking German. So one of my favorite German speaking podcasts is the Easy German Podcast, and they recently explained partially why Germans use so much English in their speech when they explained why they use an English job title for a new position at their company.
Wir haben das extra Executive Assistant genannt, ein fancy, auch englischer Begriff. Auf Deutsch würde man sagen Assistenz der Geschäftsführung. Und es geht.
Aber das klingt so alt.
Klingt alt und corporate und irgendwie furchtbar.
And it's not just job titles, but common slang I hear Germans using all the time when they will randomly throw in English words like sorry, crazy, meetings, or just like my German friend used cool.
Und ich glaube, das sieht schon ziemlich verrückt aus. Also, let's go.
Ja, natürlich erinnere ich mich, das war obviously also ein wahnsinnig großer Schreck.
We even just overheard a group of Germans talking the other day about a bathroom remodeling they were doing, and in the middle of speaking German, one girl responded to her friend in English by saying kind of, and then went back into German. And no, it's not that these words don't have German translations. In fact, most of the time they do, but just like Easy German explained, often English words just sound more modern and cooler, so Germans use them, I guess. In fact, this has been going on for a long time in Germany, and using English words in German continuously becomes more and more popular. If we look at the title of an article written by the local.de, we'll see it was called Dinglish, the English words that will make you sound more German. And now this has become one of my biggest challenges when speaking German. I obviously know I'm not ever going to fool anyone into thinking I'm a native German who speaks German natively because of my bad accent and poor pronunciation at times. However, I want to be able to speak it well enough to blend in as much as I can, but as I try and learn the German words and phrases for everything I want to say, I often also try and figure out what things I actually shouldn't translate and just say in English so that I sound like a native speaker. So I would be interested in knowing from our German viewers though, which English words do you use the most or hear being used the most while speaking German? Now, just like Easy German described, using English words in German often sounds more modern or cooler, I guess. Advertisers and businesses in Germany have definitely recognized this trend, and I have noticed other interesting ways in which they use English in promotions. I mean, this isn't any different from in the US when brands might use French words to sound fancier and convince Americans into buying into something to seem like it is more cultured than if they would have used English words in the ads. Or when some advertisements in the US use Spanish or Italian to convince you that their food is the authentic Spanish or Italian cuisine. But I've noticed that Germans seem to do this in a very unique way. Often, German businesses will take English words, but then Germanize them by not following English grammar rules, but rather German rules, and to me, I look at it and it really doesn't make sense. For example, German is famous for creating extremely long compound words. Well, in English, we also have compound words, but we definitely don't have the same way of creating compound words like German does. Yet, German advertisers will take these cool and chic sounding English words and Germanize them by creating a compound word that doesn't exist in English. Or they may create an interesting German-English combo word where one part of the compound word is in German and the other part is an English word they could have easily have used the German translation for. So as I thought about this topic, I started taking pictures of some examples of what I'm talking about, I've seen out and about that I want to show you, and I would really like some German audience participation in this part of the video. I would like to know what effect this has on you as a German when you see these and how effective you think this actually is to sell their products to Germans. First, we recently went to a restaurant in the Black Forest where a restaurant had their drink menu labeled interestingly. So Germans, does this entice you more than if they would have just labeled this as the German Sommergetränke rather than Sommerdrinks? Or what about these cheese pommes? Does that sound more delicious than Käse pommes? Or of all of these, I am definitely certain that Farmerschinken definitely is going to taste better than Bauernschinken, right? One of the big motivators for me to move to Germany was to learn German. But something really weird happened to me, a native English speaker in Germany. I actually started changing the way I speak English, and I've started learning new English words, but from Germans. And I'm not talking about English words they have created different translations for, like I've already talked about. As I have spoken English with Germans, I've noticed an interesting phenomenon in that Germans speak English with American accents and pronunciations, generally speaking, but they generally use British English vocabulary. For example, before I moved to Germany, I would tell people when I was in college, I did a study abroad program in Germany. However, now I say when I was in university, I did a study abroad program in Germany. For an American, the word university in that use isn't wrong. It just sounds very British. Or another example, I would have said, I am going on vacation before moving to Germany, but now I often say I'm going on holiday as if I'm Benedict Cumberbatch or something. The quick and dirty explanation that I have learned is the interesting mix of how Germans most often learn British English in school as they grow up, but because American media is so prevalent in Germany through music, TV, and movies, they often pick up American accents and ways of pronouncing words. Then often the subtleties between the two dialects of English are lost, and you are left with a very interesting way of speaking that sounds fairly interesting to a native English speaker like myself. And because I hear certain words like holiday or university, and because I have found that it is often easier to just use words that Germans are most used to hearing than what I am used to saying in my dialect of English, I have now started speaking more British English than I ever would have used in the US. In fact, it has become quite common, actually, saying quite like I just did is also a little nuance of British English that we have started picking up that we wouldn't have really said before moving to Germany as well. Anyways, it has become quite common for me to be talking to my American family and say something that I then notice them looking at me with a weird look, and then they say something mocking me about how prim and proper I have become since moving to Europe and started speaking like a British person. To see who made it this far into the video, the random question of the week is: what is your preferred sock length? Thanks so much for watching this video. Be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and I will see you in our next video. And I think I'll be able to easily understand what they are talking about considering If we look at the title of an article written by the local.de, we'll see, .de.